So guys, I'm going to do an exercise right here for building a mana base. I do a lot of my mana bases very intuitively, so I'm going to try and talk through the process of how I build a mana base and how to get the right amount of sources for costs of the deck. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through each of the cards and count the number of mana symbols for each color on the cards that we have and figure out percentages that they exist in the deck. So the first one, we're going to go in Wooburger order. So white, blue, and red. For white, we have 4 Felidar Guardians is 4. 4 Spell Quellers is 8. 2 Fumigates gets us to 12, and that's it. So we have 12 white mana symbols on all of our cards. For blue, we have 4 Saheeli Rai is 4. 4 Spell Queller is 8. 4 Anticipate is 12. 4 Glimmer of Genius is 16, 3 Torrential Gearhulks is 22, 2 Revolutionary Rebuffs is 24, 2 Disallow is 28, 2 Dispel is 30, and then 1 Negate is 31. And for red, we have 4 Saheeli Rai is 4, 4 Galvanic Bombardment is 8, and that is it. So that is a total of 51 mana symbols. So 12 white mana symbols out of 51 gives us 23.5% of our mana costs. 31 out of 51 total mana symbols gives us 61% of our mana base. And then 8 red mana sources out of 51 gives us 15.5% roughly. So if we add that up, make sure it adds 23.5 plus 61 plus 15.5, if my calculator works, gives us 100%. So those are rough numbers, and we're rounding here, but roughly we have 60% in blue, roughly 25 in white, and roughly 15 in red. Those numbers are approximate, but it gives us a good, easy way to work with the mana base. So we're very heavily in blue, so we want a lot of blue sources, and secondary with white, with red coming in last, mostly to facilitate the combo with Saheeli Rai, but we want it early for interaction with Galvanic Bombardment. The first place I'm going to start is 4 Prairie Streams. And that's going to be able to let us cast all of our blue spells and a lot of our white spells since that's the base. We're also going to need red early, so we're going to go 4 Spirebluff Canals. Which is going to give us a total right now of 8 blue sources and 4 of each white and red, so we're going to need to get a little bit more. We're going to go with 2 Inspiring Advantages here. Which is going to still keep it even on the red and white sources, but give us 8 blue. So we're going to need more blue sources and ultimately a little bit more red or a little more white than red sources. So if we are running Ether Hubs for Glimmer of Genius to be able to support that later, I think that's a good place to be. So we run 4 Ether Hubs. And at this point, Thalia is a big part of the deck, so I don't want to run a whole lot of non-basic lands. I think 10 is a good place to be. We're at 14 right now, so that leaves us 10 basic lands to work with.
Did you put Thalia in the deck?
Thalia is not in the deck. We have Authority of the Councils instead. Oh. Thalia playing against Thalia.
Oh, I see.
Is important for the mana base.
Cool.
So I want to run at least 10. We have 10 spots for basic lands, which I think is a good number. I don't really want Evolving Walls in this deck. I don't think it really fits.
No.
We have our fast lands for early interaction to help curve into a Saheeli Rai into Felidar Guardian is very mana intensive, but the fast land should help with that. So of the ones that we have here, if we count Ether Hub as half a source for each of the colors, For white, we have 4 Prairie Streams, 2 Inspiring Advantages, and 2 Ether Hubs for effectively 8 sources. We have, for blue, 4 Prairie Streams, 4 Spire Bluff Canals, and 4 Ether Hubs for 10.
2 Ether Hubs. You're saying 2 each.
Right, but 4 Ether Hubs at half a point each.
That's 10.
Gives us 10 for blue. And then for red, we have 4 Spire Bluff Canals, 2 Inspiring Advantages, and 4 Ether Hubs for 8. So when we're doing the rest of the mana base, we definitely want a lot of blue sources, and we want to hedge more towards the white than red. If we go to 7 islands, which is a lot of the mana base, that's going to push blue very heavily, and then that leaves us 3 basic lands to split 2 and 1, 2 for plains, and 1 for mountain. So if you run the numbers on there, we have a total of 10 white sources in the deck, 17 blue sources in the deck, and 9 red sources in the deck. That gives us for white, our total sources, I guess at that point, is 36. So we have about 28% sources for red.
28% of what?
28% of our mana base.
Okay.
17 blue sources gives us about 47% blue. And then 9 red sources gives us 25%.
You're doing 36 lines?
Red. 36 sources.
Sources. Okay, cool.
So for that, yeah, so we end up with a slightly different. So we have 61% of our cost is in blue, and we have a little less than half of our mana sources is blue. That doesn't seem great.
If we're a control shell, are we using mainlands at all?
I think that's a place to go, and my immediate response would be to cut 1 Inspiring Advantage and add a Wandering Fumarole.
Okay. So that's just a good card.
And that cuts down a white source for a blue source while leaving red the same, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Why the Inspiring Advantage? Why not an island?
Because we want to add blue sources.
Sure. You're right.
We're looking at over half the cost in the deck is blue, and we're looking at slightly less than half of the sources is blue.
Right.
Granted, proportionally to the rest of them, it's still okay. We could also, if we don't run Fumarole, and we run a Port Town instead.
Sure. I think Port Town and like the Port Town Inspiring Advantage, Spire Bluff, Prairie Stream.
Yeah. So Port Town has a total of 13 lands that can let it come into play untapped. The 4 Prairie Streams, 7 islands, and 2 plains.
That's true.
So I think that's
the old Prairie Stream Port Town pull.
Yeah. That's probably okay. We're not running creature lanes at this point. That might be a mistake. Maybe you cut a Spire Bluff Canal for a Wandering Fumarole or such, but I like having untapped red sources for
Galvanic Bombardment.
Bombardment on turn 1 on the player of the draw.
Turn 1, that's a great.
So if we rerun the numbers real quick, we effectively took out a red source for a white source. So we end up with 8 red sources and 11 white sources. So the numbers on there change to 30% for white. No, we took out Inspiring Advantage for Port Town. Sorry.
Still got a white, yeah.
So white's still at 10.
We cut a red for a blue.
We cut a red for a blue, so we're at 18. So white is still at 28%. Blue then becomes 50% even of the mana base, which I like. And then red drops down to about 14% of the mana base. So working in rough numbers, I think that's a pretty good place to be. We're a little bit heavier on the white mana, but that white also has the only double costed spell in our deck in Fumigate.
Right.
Torrential Gear Hulk as well. But we should have 2 blue sources by the time we're casting Torrential Gear Hulk.
If you know what you're talking about, we will.
I'm hoping. White getting a little bit of a hedge to play your Fumigates and being able to cast that. We also have early interaction with Spell Queller as well.
And Fellow Guardian's just a part of the combo.
It is part of the combo. But so is Saheeli Red, so we need red sources as well. And the red source helps for an earlier Saheeli ride because we're running off of the fast lands, whereas the extra planes or the port town can come in untapped after turn 3 if you have a lot of lands.
Yeah.
Also, Prairie Stream helps that as well. I think this is a good place to start for the mana base. So if we put that in and we run it a little bit, I think that's a good place to start.
Give me the non-basics first.
Non-basics first. We have 4 Prairie Streams.
Okay.
4 Spire Bluff Canals. 1 Inspiring Vantage.
Uno. Yep.
4 Ether Hubs.
Aether Hub. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
It's Ether.
Aether. Okay.
And then 1 Port Town.
Right.
And for basics, we have 7 Islands.
Island. Siete. Okay.
2 Plains.
Yeah.
And 1 Mountain. It's also possible, since we're not running Evolving Wilds, that we just cut the mountain. But I'm not sure if that helps us in actually casting stuff. I'm not sure how much that
a wise man once told me that you want enough basic lands in your deck to cast all of your spells.
Right.
Being that we have no double red, but we do have single red.
Right.
I think going by that wise man's comments, being you.
The wise man he's talking about is me.
Being you.
I was mostly referring to a deck with fetch lands. And being able to...
No, we've run that with ours.
We have.
We've run that principle with the decks that we built.
But I think all the decks that we built had Evolving Wilds in it.
No, the Jeskai deck never did.
It still has them.
Does it?
We run 3 Evolving Wilds in our Jeskai control.
I never use Evolving Wilds when I run that deck.
Yeah. It's in there.
Evolving Wilds.
There's 3 Evolving Wilds.
Oh, you know what?
Because we traded with Brendan and we got the shiny one, the signed
one signed.
Yeah.
Now you know what I do with them usually? I glimmer them or anticipate them to the bottom.
Yes. You never want to cast them.
That's why I see it. Okay. But
so the idea for that, and I think that's very important when you're running decks with basic land fetching, is you don't want, I'm only running such and such red sources, but I have a Chandra in my deck.
Right.
If you have a basic mountain in your hand, or you've already played it, and you need a red source with your Evolving Wilds, you don't want it to be stranded already in play. So you want to be able to fetch out as many as you can for all the spells that you cast.
I got you.
Seeing as we're not running Evolving Wilds, we're strictly talking about percentages.
Yeah.
One
mountain.
Which might lead to cutting the mountain. However, there's 15.5% of the mana costs in red, and we only have 14% of the mana base. Granted, that's very close. 14% of the mana base is red, so I probably wouldn't cut the basic mountain. Also, basic mountain or red source on turn 1 is the most important color to have.
Then let me ask you this: why not, if we're not running Evolving Wilds, why not run an Inspiring Vantage over the mountain? If you're not worried about fetching, Inspiring Vantage still comes in untapped.
That's a hedge against Thalia.
Oh, right. That's what you're
Particularly, Thalia,
Thalia
doesn't affect fast lanes as much.
Yeah.
Unless if you're playing on the draw against Thalia,
And they curve into
she
it.
can affect fast lanes.
Sure.
Other than that, by the time you're playing a fast lane, it's going to come into play tapped anyways.
Sure. So we're looking at 8.
If anything, I would look at cutting a plains for another blue source, whether that's another island or something else, probably. Because in that point, we're already plus on our white sources,
Right.
And we're trying to get the fumigate mana and whatnot. But that would bump us over 50% for blue and cut the white back down closer to the almost 24% mana cost, where it's at 28% of the mana base right now. So if we cut that a little bit...
Plane for an island?
A plains for an island. Let's run the numbers on that.
Okay.
And see what we got. So that gives us 9 white sources, 19 blue sources. Bring out the handy dandy calculator again.
The phone killator.
Yeah. So it gives us exactly 25% white sources, which is a lot closer to 23. We have 19 blue sources, gives us about 53% for blue, and then we're still running about... Oh, I must have done my math wrong somewhere. Yeah, we're looking at...
The calculator's lying to you.
No, I think it was lying to me originally.
Calculators lie sometimes.
No, that adds up. About 22% red. I must have messed up my math somewhere.
So what are our numbers we're looking for again?
So we're looking at the percentages of the mana cost in our deck. White sits at 23.5%, blue sits at 61%, and red sits at 15.5%.
Okay.
So maybe we cut the mountain too?
Because we're at 22%, we want to be near 15.
Right. So if we run another island, cut the mountain. Let's try that. So we have 20 blue sources. We have 7 red sources. So white's still going to be 25%. That's a good number.
Okay.
20 blue sources gives us 55.5% for blue. And then 7 red sources gives us about 19.5%.
Okay.
For red.
Okay.
I look at that, and instinctively I say it's 7 sources. Granted, we're counting the ether hubs as half a source.
This is fair, because you have to count glimmers along with it.
Right. Is that enough to be able to count on it at all, or especially early? I mean, at this point, our only sources of red are the 4 Spiral Bluff Canals, the 1 Inspiring Vantage, and the 4 Ether Hubs. It doesn't sound great. If we cut the white down a little bit more, and maybe put the Port Town back as an Inspiring Vantage.
Okay. Then you're cutting blue.
Oh yeah, not as an Inspiring Vantage. If we make the Port Town,
if you make it anything
blue,
but a Port Town,
red.
you're cutting blue.
No, we can make it a Wandering Funeral,
Go
which
back
is
to
fine.
funeral.
I think having access to one of those is perfectly okay. It's not an untapped red source on turn 1,
Right.
but we have 9 lands in the deck give us untapped red on turn 1, including
Sure.
the Ether Hubs.
Sure.
So we're cutting a white, going to 8, adding a blue, going to 21. So that gives us 22% for white, which is slightly under the mana cost percentage. We're going 58% for blue, and then red gives us roughly 20%. So for that, we're actually still running heavy percentage-wise mana cost or mana sources for red versus the mana cost. But because we're dealing with such a low number, I think it's fine to be over there.
Sure.
We're running a little short on blue and a little short on white to compensate. But we're also, those are our later game cards. We're talking about double blue for Torrential Gearhulk here, or Glimmer of Genius, and all that sort of stuff. And our whites is trying to get to Fumigate.
Glimmer's not double blue.
No, but it's just later.
Oh, I see, yeah.
It's just later.
Okay.
Or double white for Fumigate, or Feller Guardian on turn 4. So, we definitely have enough blue sources that I think having blue source for Saheeli Ride on turn 3 is fine.
Alright, so what's your final? I have 4 Prairie Stream, 4 Spire Bluff Canal, 1 Inspiring Vantage, 4 Ether Hub. I have a Port Town. We changed that to a
Wandering Fumarole.
Okay. Wandering. Pretty sure that's how you spell that. Wandering Fumarole. One of those. Okay.
One Fumarole.
And then I have 7 islands.
That's now 9.
9 islands. It's good. 2 plains.
1 plains.
1 plains. It's still a plains.
And 0 mountains.
Ixnay Mountain Maze.
Which I'm scared about, but the numbers say that it's fine.
And that's all we can do right now until we play this.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a very good chance that we add in a basic now.
Alright, so I go to the bottom here, I click the save button, and immediately Tapped Out, being my favorite, one of my favorite resources, gives us a curve, and it tells us we have 60 cards in the main board.
Yeah.
And it also says sideboard is 15.
That's where we want to be.
That's a 75, Nate.
That's a 75.
That's a 75.
Also, Tapped Out has this nifty little mana calculator thing that basically is a calculation on exactly what I did already.
Right.
But I like to do it manually anyways.
So 31 symbols of blue in our cost makes up 68.78%.
Yep.
And we are running 60% blue.
Right, so it's counting the Ether Hubs as
1.
I think it's actually counting them as 0.
Okay. Oh, right. So is it even counting them?
It's not counting the Ether Hubs as far as actual symbols.
But your calculations are 0.78% lower than the costs. You're pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
Same thing here. You're at 23.53% mana symbol. 12 symbols.
For white?
Yes, for white. And you're running 20% of the mana base as white. You're also running 15.69 red. You're running 8 symbols, and you're at 20% there as well.
Yeah.
So you're at nice round numbers. The pie looks good. It's close enough. And again, it can be tweaked.
Yeah.
But the pie looks good.
Pie looks really good.
It's breaking down our land, instant, sorcery, planeswalker, creature, and I
the most important thing I like is that right there.
Instant, yes. We're running 19 instants,
which is very good.
Which, as part of the pie, they don't give you percentages, but if I were to go off of it,
it's probably about 30%.
Yeah, it's put it this way: if you've ever seen the peace symbol, instants take up the top right quadrant of the peace symbol. Right. It's pretty much how it works out.
Instants and sorcery is almost entirely.
Yes, and so there's only 2 sorcerers in the deck, being Fumigate.
Right.
4 planeswalkers, I always like to see that. 11 creatures, all of which do something very relevant for us, and then the lands. Curve wise, peaks out right at 3 with Spell Queller being...
And Saheeli Ride.
Oh, that's right. That's the goal, too, there, yeah. Slightly dips down on turn 4, where we're at, the Felidar Guardians and Glimmers. Sure. The 2/5 whites being the Fumigates, and then 3 Torrential Gearholds to round off at 6. I mean, it looks like a solid curve.
Yeah.
If we were drafting on Moto right now, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah.
Mana comes out. So... I think from here we play test.
Yeah.
And we come back and see if we liked it or not.
Yeah.
Cool with that?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
All right, Cold Brew MTG. Jesse here, Nate. We're going to go play test, and we'll report back with the findings.